There are several entities on the roster as currently constructed that you cannot trust if you're the Arizona Cardinals. Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Alex Clancy here. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast platform. Yesterday, I did what you can trust on the offensive side of the ball. Today will be what you can't trust right now on the offensive side of the ball. Monday will be what you can trust on the defensive side of the ball. And Tuesday, you guessed it, what you can't trust as we currently sit on the defensive side of the ball. It's a nice flyover of exactly where we are looking at this team during the tippy-top beginning of the offseason. Now with the coaching staff set, filling out the position group coaches, and you're going to be on your way looking at this roster and combing through it with a fine-tooth comb. What? And we're going to see how different it's going to be come week 1. You can't trust the quarterback room as a whole. And I know I started off yesterday's show with trust Jacoby Brissett. I'll explain more in depth about what I mean. You can't trust the O-line. I know that yesterday I said you can trust Yalta Froholdt and Marvin Harrison Jr., but the entirety of the offensive line is still a liability. But most importantly, and this is right now speaking existentially, this is right this second. This isn't a month from now. This isn't week 1. This isn't during training camp. You cannot trust Marvin Harrison Jr. He's going into year 3. He regressed last year, some of it due to injury. And you can't trust that he's going to be the #1 option from the wide receiver room. I'm taking away Trey McBride. Trey McBride's #1, the #1 pass catching option. He just is. If there's ever been a time for motivation for Marv, it was watching what Michael Wilson did last year. And we saw a big jump from Marv from year 1 to year 2 with his physique. Put on 10 pounds of muscle. He looked chiseled. He looked ready to be able to go up for 50-50 balls when his rookie year, there were more 30-70 balls for the opposition. And then outside of that jump ball against Seattle to tie the game in week 4 and the wild, magician-like touchdown catch between 2 defenders against Tennessee on the far side of the field early in that game, didn't really see the strength with all the muscle that he put on that offseason. So I've defended Marv, and I'll continue to do it. I'm not saying you won't be able to trust him, trade him, get rid of him, cut him. Come on. But right now, it's painfully obvious that he is not trustworthy to produce every week. And that is something that the Cardinals are going to have to look at the mirror and be like, okay, drafted him #4 overall. I never put where somebody is drafted directly with an extra weight, like they're wearing a weight, vest when they're, running up a hill, like Sean Marion used to work out with that weight vest like a maniac. I'm not saying you have to wear a weight vest when it comes to, expectation and production for where you were drafted. I think it's a fallacy. I think it's a fool's errand. Because they were going to draft him anyway. 6, 7, doesn't matter where he was. 1, they were going to draft him, probably. So it doesn't really matter. Plus, he was the highest rated college football player ever by many people that I trust in this space who have very, very high ranking jobs. It's not a flex. I've been in this space a long time. You make friends. But you can't trust him right now. So the Cardinals are going to have to look in the mirror and be like, what does this wide receiver room need? Do you need to bring in another veteran? Do you need to see this play out, which is more than likely what's going to happen? And do you need to give every single person on this roster the benefit of the doubt with the injuries that happened last year, especially and again, these aren't excuses. These are valid reasons. They had no run game. Everybody was hurt. They had to throw the ball 50 times. It's harder to get open, and trust me, it's harder to get open when everybody knows they're throwing the ball. Now, Michael Wilson had no problem doing it. I get that. Trey McBride had no problem doing it, which is why you can't trust Marv right now, February 20th, 2026. Luckily, there's several months, several chances and practices and things like that for Marv to level the hell up. I still believe that what everybody thought he was going to be, he could be. But you can't trust him. Injuries. You can't trust Marv's body right now. And the one thing, while this is very to the moment, this is not an original story with injuries with young players. I always go, like Justin Jefferson missed some time early. Like there's a bunch of guys that missed time early. Jamar Chase, Julio Jones was hurt every week. Played through it. He had lower body injuries every week. If you ever had him in fantasy football, you know he was hurt almost every week. But he played. With Marv, had the appendicitis, which was weird. Had some lower leg stuff, which is weird. Like, I always equate it to Steph Curry. I know that, like, for those that have watched the show for a long time, basketball is my first love and still is. You know, football and basketball are 1 and 1A. It takes a while. Like, Steph was hurt he was hurt multiple times a year during his first couple of years in the league because he had to get his body used to the NBA game and the strain and all the 82 games and the longer, minutes per game. It's a different game in the NFL, and not everybody has to deal with it. Not everybody's DK Metcalf either. So I think these are nagging injuries. These are things that Marv will learn to play with. He'll get calloused up, and he'll be fine in 2026, truly. But if you're talking about what you can't trust on the offensive side of the ball, February 20th, 2026, he's number one atop the list. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you would love, like, picture this offense with Michael Wilson playing at a high level. Say he eclipses 1,000 yards. Say Marv is right around 1,000 yards, and then Trey McBride. I mean, you're gonna be cooking. You're gonna be cooking. And let's not mistake that with let blank cook. I will never say that ever. I think it's one of the. Come on, let's do better as a society. Let Russ cook. Let Monty cook. Come on. Let's be better. That's my PSA for the day. It's Friday. I get a PSA. This is not a joking matter at this point with Marv. Mike LaFleur, Nathaniel Hackett, Tony Sorrentino, Matt Schaub. Everybody knows Marv needs to work for this offense to work. It was fun last year with Michael Wilson. I know that I'm getting thrown charts after saying you can trust Michael Wilson yesterday. I'm getting thrown charts with the garbage time yardage that he's had. Garbage time, like, okay. But also, like, Marv couldn't do it. So I know, like, you can't expect Michael Wilson, you would think. Conventional wisdom would lend you to think that he's not going to be a 1,100-yard receiver every year. Maybe he is. Maybe that was his breakout year. Maybe he finally got, the restrictor plate pulled off of his ability where he actually gets opportunity with Jacoby Brissett throwing him the ball. Maybe that's it. Marv needs to work for this to work. If it doesn't work this year, if it doesn't work by the trade deadline, we could be having weird conversations. Truly. But Marv never has a better opportunity than this year, moving forward, to be able to produce. Offensive-minded head coach, innovative offense. Nathaniel Hackett's been around for a long time. He was with Devontae Adams for a handful of years, among others who have, done very well from the wide receiver room. Okay. Tony Sorrentino, Justin Jefferson, the last 3 years, was with Allen Hurns and Allen Robinson in 2015 when they all went nuts. I think they had 2,500 receiving yards combined and a whole bunch of touchdowns for Jacksonville. Again, that was also garbage time because they only won 5 games that year. But still, he's been around wide receiver elite production. Bring him in, bring Matt Schaub in to help Jacoby Brissett turn Marvin Harrison Jr. into whatever version of Andre Johnson or how close you can get to it. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but Matt Schaub has been around a lot of wide receiver ones, and he's thrown to a lot of wide receiver ones, namely Andre Johnson, one of the best to ever do it. So if there's ever a brain trust that can help Marv really get over that hump, it's now on the Arizona Cardinals. Like, I mean, I say that with a little bit of, I'm grading on a curve here. They got the absolute best that they could get that will inevitably help Marvin Harrison Jr. regardless. Like, they may not have got their number one choice for any position coach or coordinator, but who they did get will absolutely help Marvin Harrison Jr. But right now, You just can't trust them. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Can't trust the offensive line either. I'll discuss it next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstake. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock in. I love futures this time of year. What about MVP? It's wide open. Think SGA is just going to walk away with it? Nikola Jokic going to come back? Is there a dark horse that's going to come in and sweep it from everybody? Well, now, not only can your pick cash, but it can also send you to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Hit that subscribe button, man. Join the Everydayers Club. Link is in the description. Ad-free content, members-only Discord. It's fun. Having good conversations over there. I really like to ramp it up. You can't trust the offensive line. I said yesterday you can trust Paris Johnson Jr. and Yalta Froholdt. I love these. There's some charts that are coming out. It's not list season. It's kind of chart season where you start to see like actual crunch numbers, pressure rates, things like that. Yalta Froholdt top 10 in pressure rate allowed last year. So top 10 in least percentage of pressure rate. So that's pretty damn good for those that push back on his importance to this team. You can't trust the offensive line. Whoever's going to be left guard right now, it's a liability. Whoever's going to be right guard at this point, it's going to be a liability, whether it's Isaiah Adams or Will Hernandez comes back. And right tackle, you have no idea who it's going to be. You can't trust it. And you will hear me scream from the mountaintops the entirety of this offseason. You need to improve the offensive line. I say it. This is 5 years in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 years in a row that you need to improve the offensive line. I don't care who's quarterback back there. It doesn't matter. If you don't protect the quarterback, none of this is going to work. Got to eat their vegetables. They've got to eat their vegetables. It starts with free agency. Wyatt Teller is going to be a free agent. Joe Bitonio is going to be a free agent. If you want to be a serious football team, you need to spend some money on the interior of the offensive line and draft a right tackle. Then you're good. Then it's set. And I know that a rookie right tackle, it's not it's for sure going to work. Look at Will Campbell. Come on. Will Campbell has nothing to do with this year's draft and the player that they're going to draft. Nothing to do with it. This is the position group you have the least amount of trust in for this entire team. I didn't do it for the first segment because it's not as punchy as Marv, you know. And the problem is with the offensive line, not only can you not trust it, and there were injuries, Jonah Williams went down, Will Hernandez went down after taking a few weeks to be healthy. He then went down. To Isaiah Adams' credit, he played very well down the stretch. This group played well in the last 6 weeks of the season, which there's momentum there. Okay. Other teams that they were playing for something. So that's not to say that it's like, the teams that they played were all sitting everybody. They're playing. It's like a preseason game where they're all playing third stringers. No, they played quite well down the stretch last year. They did. It's like they figured something out. There's momentum there. And if Isaiah Adams is your starting right guard in 2026, there's a huge problem. If John Gaines is your starting left guard in 2026, there's a problem. And it's not because those guys are inept. Okay? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there needs to be improvement. They may be B- level guards. You need B+ A level guards if you want to win in this league. You just do. So I said in a past episode, the Cardinals need to spend the majority of their money on a pass rusher, a safety, an offensive tackle or offensive line. But the thing is, you can spend less money on defense and fill needs with competent players, especially pass rushers. You can get 2-year, $20 million pass rushers all the time. They're like hired guns. They're like what Darrelle Revis and Aqib Talib used to be for the cornerback room. It's the Jadeveon Clowney effect. You just bring a dude in as a hired gun, and he's a pass rusher for you for 2 years. You need to spend the cheese on the offensive line. Look at what Chicago did. I'm not comparing Michael LaFleur to Ben Johnson. I'm not comparing the quarterback room to Caleb Williams. I'm not comparing anything outside of the fact that they signed Joe Thuney, they brought in another guy, and they drafted an offensive lineman 2 years in a row with a high draft pick, I believe. And they have one of the better offensive lines in football. They were able to run the bleep out of the ball last year in Ben Johnson's offense. I know it wasn't as efficient as you want it to be with DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai, but they were able to do it consistently with two backs. And Caleb Williams runs for his life because he doesn't make fast decisions good enough right now. He's been in the league 2 years. The Cardinals can do that. So the problem with this offensive line, as I was getting to before I interrupted myself, was it's not that you just can't trust the offensive line. There's no depth. Because Jonah Williams didn't work out. Will Hernandez got hurt. Kelvin Beacham's fine. You hope he comes back. Like, Beach is great. Kelvin Beacham is a perfect spot start guy. He's a Colt McCoy for the offensive line. He's perfect. You hope he signs another one-year deal. That was one of the best offseason signings that Steve Keim ever made. I think it was Steve Keim. That Steve Keim made. Ever. It's a 1 year, it's a 2 year, it's a 1 year, it's a 1 year, it's a 1 year. He's been amazing for this team with spot starts. So say he comes back. He seems like I mean, he still has some pep in his step to start once in a while, if need be, or come in, and heavy packages if you want to add another offensive lineman. Like, but that's it. That's it. Evan Brown, maybe a cap casualty. You got John Gaines, and that's about it at left guard. Right guard, got Isaiah Adams. That's about it. I know you've got Josh Fryer here to back up left tackle, and he played okay when Paris Johnson Jr. got hurt down the stretch. So you may have something there, which is great. But there's no depth, and you can't trust the offensive line. So it's not like you've got 5 above average offensive linemen in varying degrees, whatever that means. Like, say you had like a B position group in the offensive line. Now it's like a C-, C-. It's not like you have a B and it's like, oh, there's no depth. You got to draft for depth, maybe draft a guy in the second round for depth and then coach him up, and then, he'll start in the next year or so. They've got a C- offensive line and no depth. So that makes the offensive line group like a D. Even though Paris Johnson Jr. and Yalta Froholdt are good, they're so far away from where they need to be, which is borderline great. You can't win in this league without a good offensive line. You can't. Russell Wilson got away with it for years in Seattle because they had a top 5 defense of all time. Russell Wilson was playing on broken ankles for years, it seemed like. He was limping like Byron Leftwich for an entire season. Wait, for the younger gentleman, or the younger viewers, Byron Leftwich played at Marshall, and he had a game where he broke his ankle, and he had his offensive lineman. He threw a ball down the field that was caught. He had his offensive lineman pick him up and carry him and run him down so they could run the next play. I digress. The offensive line is in shambles, start to finish. Very top heavy. Yalta Froholdt's not all pro. Oh, side note, for those that think that Tyler Linderbaum is the dude they got to spend a lot of money, pay a lot of money for, I agree. They won't, and maybe they shouldn't. I don't think the Cardinals are there right now. But with the same pressure chart that Yalta Froholdt was top 10, Tyler Linderbaum was bottom 3 in pressures allowed last year. I don't know what that means. You can cherry pick whatever you want when it comes to percentages and stuff. I'm just mentioning that. They got to fix it. In free agency and in the draft. I'm probably going to be wrong. With what they do. Like I've been wrong every year because they haven't done what they were supposed to do, in my opinion. Outside of the Paris Johnson Jr. pick, while getting another first-round pick in the process and a third, I'm probably going to be wrong. And I hope Walter Nolan works out. Like, I hope that I can eat my shorts when it comes to that it wasn't Gray Zabel. Because the Cardinals need a Gray Zabel right now. They also need a Walter Nolan right now. So that's not necessarily fair. I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth when it comes to that. I know that. But when push comes to shove, you can't trust the offensive line. And they're going to need to invest in that position group early and often in free agency and the draft to make that a trustworthy group come week 1. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. You can't trust the quarterback room as a whole. That's kind of a brain bleep. I just said you trust Jacoby Brissett. What do I mean? I'll discuss it next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Welcome to the 5 Hour Energy Flavor Draft. We're looking at every aspect of the draft to let you know which tasty flavors are the best and which just might be sleepers. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and only one is going to take the top spot. Listen, I'm going to read off a bunch of flavors that you had no idea existed with 5 Hour Energy. They got a wide variety of flavors, something for everybody. Zero boost. Zero sugar, they give a boost with zero sugar. Like, look at this. Okay, so my favorite ones, watermelon. Okay, watermelon's a good flavor because it's punchy, it's not overly sweet, and it's cool, crisp, and caffeinated. Like, it's got a refreshing finish. You love watermelon. I love watermelon. That's a really good one. Tropical Burst Peach Mango, 2 different flavors, kind of in the same arena, more traditional flavors. Love those. Now, sleepers, though, I mean, dude, listen to this. Confetti Craze. I'm a huge funfetti cake guy. Confetti Craze is a flavor. Blend of rich and buttery, freshly baked confetti cake, smooth vanilla frosting, sprinkle of sweetness in every sip. Come on. That very well may be a sleeper. Find your favorite flavor of 5 Hour Energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. YouTube channel, subscribe, Big Dumb Face every day. You're noticing I'm doing shows twice a day now, morning and afternoon. I'll be doing that. What I might tweak is I might give you guys a Saturday and Sunday show. I'm kind of working on it. So where it'll be, instead of Thursday and Friday nights, I'll do Saturday and Sunday. So you get stuff every day. I'm kind of working through it. If you could, I would love this. I'm just taking a second here to not be talking about it. If you could DM me at Clancy's Corner on Twitter, or just put in the comments, find a way to contact me about what time you like watching this every morning or listening every morning. And then in the evening, I'm targeting 10 in the morning and like 6 at night. Let me know what you think. Anything helps. As you notice, I've been testing a bunch of different times. I'm just working out, how to work with this new structure. You can't trust the quarterback room as a whole. It's true. And scene. Have a good weekend. While I think Jacoby Brissett's going to be the dude for 2026, and he's earned it. And if you want to draft a rookie and have a competition, and you have a rookie that's a silver bullet that comes in, it's like, wow, the Cardinals picked the right one in the 3rd round out of the guys, Carson Beck and, Garrett Nussmeier and like all these dudes that are coming out, Ty Simpson. We don't know. None of them had illustrious college careers. Carson Beck did not play well. They rode the defense and the run game to the national championship game and got hot in the playoff. But, who knows? So many times quarterbacks don't have excellent college football numbers, and then they go, they go bonkers in the NFL and vice versa. A lot of Case Keenums out there who led the nation in passing yards like 3 years in a row. And then, Case Keenum had a pretty good career. Minneapolis Miracle, started for 10 plus years, which, any quarterback would be lucky to do, but he wasn't the guy that you thought he was going to be in college. But as of right this second, who's the backup? Keaton Slovis. So this isn't an indictment on Jacoby Brissett. This is an incomplete position group room on February 20, 2026, which doesn't mean they're behind schedule. It doesn't mean they're behind schedule. I do think they're going to find somebody like, whatever, you bring in Jameis or something. Like, and I just threw that off the top of my head. I thought they should have signed Jameis, and then they found Jacoby Brissett, which is way better. But you bring in a guy to be Jacoby's backup, or listen, you want to bring a guy and compete for the starting job, that's great. That's great. The only thing you want to avoid here is have Kyler Murray and Jacoby Brissett competing for the starting gig. It would just be too much, and that's not going to happen. But you got to find a guy that you like, that you don't need to give up draft capital for, who's a free agent, who wants to come in and either hold a clipboard or, who will compete, but most likely hold a clipboard, make a couple $1 million, and, just be the backup quarterback. The Gardner Minshew effect, even though Gardner Minshew is going to miss the entire year or close to it. He tore his ACL late last year. They bring in Carson Wentz. I don't know. Like, the list isn't great. We are far removed from the days where Matty Ryan and Phillip Rivers and Andy Dalton during his peak backup time existed, where it's like, man, You just bring in some of these aging vets. There's only Aaron Rodgers in that kind of group now. There used to be like 7, 8, 10 guys. You just come in and rotate and start and win a couple games. The one thing you don't want in 2026, one of the things you don't want is, say Jacoby Brissett gets hurt, knocked on wood. Obviously, you never wish anybody to be injured, whether it be on the team that you cover, team you're a fan of, or team that is your hated rival. And if you do, you got a problem. The only thing you don't want is if Jacoby Brissett were to get hurt and you have Nathan Peterman as your backup and everything craters and the season's lost. While the Cardinals aren't probably going to win 12 games this year, and while they're probably not going to compete for a playoff spot, you also don't want to have a sitting duck back there who has no business being an NFL quarterback. And that's not a knock on Keaton Slovis. He hasn't gotten a chance yet, whatever it may be. But the Cardinals need an upgrade from the Clayton Tune-ish situation they've had as a backup for the last handful of years. And you see how valuable a backup quarterback is with Jacoby Brissett. I know they only won one game with him. Okay? Watch the games. He was more than competent for the majority of those games. But they need to improve it. So you bring in a vet who, quote, competes, I guess. This is going to be Jacoby Brissett's job, in my opinion. And you draft a rookie in the third round. If you want to draft a rookie in the second round, the free agency is going to tell a lot about this, what they do in the draft, obviously. But, like, say that they go gangbusters and they hit on Wyatt Teller or Joel Bitonio and they draft a right tackle and they bring in a pass rusher and a safety, depending on what happens with Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson. And, Garrett Williams is on track to play. Like you get an update where it's like, okay, he's most likely going to be ready for week 1. This roster is going to come back from the dead very quickly. It's going to come back from the dead very quickly. So free agency is obviously going to be a huge, identifier of what the Cardinals will do at the quarterback position. But if you draft a quarterback in the third round, I think the second round's too high. If you're going to take a flyer, do it in the third or fourth round. Don't do it in the second. Because if you do it in the second, there's going to be pressure on that guy. Not pressure, there's just going to be conversations like, well, why isn't he starting? I'm in the Green Bay Packer camp. Sit the guy for a year or two. At least a year. Jordan Love would not have been this good right out the gate if he started week 1. It's a huge deterrent. Look what happened with Sam Darnold. I know it was the Jets in Carolina, but the Cardinals draft a quarterback in the third or fourth round. Great. Whatever. And then you can draft a quarterback next year. Maybe you have Jacoby, you bring him back, on a 1-year deal, and you figure it out. But you can't trust the quarterback room as a whole right now. They need first to identify their plan. And I'm sure in some form or fashion they have. Obviously, those were part of the interview questions they asked Mike LaFleur, asked Nathaniel Hackett, with Tony Sorrentino coming in, with Matt Schaub coming in. There's going to be a brain trust there. I know Tony Sorrentino is the wide receiver coach, but it's still connected. They got to figure out their plan, and they'll make it very clear to everybody if they sign a veteran quarterback to back up Jacoby Brissett that they're not drafting a quarterback in the top 2 or 3 rounds this year. And they're going to look at what's looked to be as the best draft class in the history of football, some have touted, in 2027. This is a great time. If we're going to put lipstick on a pig here, this is a great time for the Cardinals to be in this retooling time. Because they're going to get a top draft pick next year, a higher one. Who knows what they're going to do this year? I'll tell you what. The only thing for me, that seems so close-minded, but the only thing for me that would make me more excited about 2027 is if the Cardinals got another first-round pick somehow out of this draft. If they traded back and some team wanted to move up from 10 or 11 or whatever, it's going to be difficult. But who knows? Quarterbacks rise up the ranks all the damn time. We talk about this every single offseason. It's not this desolate outside of Fernando Mendoza, but it happens. If the Cardinals can get another first-round pick in the 2027 draft, that would make me more excited. But I'll stick with a right tackle at 3. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Cardinal Squad Show today at 4 in the afternoon. I will not be doing a secondary show, posting it tonight because it'll be the Cardinal Squad Show. I'll be posting one tomorrow instead. Remember, without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you this afternoon.